Funding provided in part from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration's Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program and the North Carolina State Highway Patrol Motor Carrier Enforcement Section. Since January 1st, 2003, all new motor carriers, private and for hire, operating in interstate commerce must apply for registration, that is, a U.S. DOT number, as a new entrant. These regulations only apply to trade, traffic, or transportation between a place in a state and a place outside of such state, or between two places in a state as part of trade, traffic, or transportation originating or terminating outside the state. Also, if you are a for-hire carrier in interstate commerce, you must acquire operating authority, that is, an MC number. Congress required the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to establish minimum requirements for new motor carriers seeking federal interstate registration. It is the responsibility of motor carrier operators and drivers to know and comply with all applicable federal motor carrier safety regulations. Safety compliance and safe operations translate into saved lives and property. After viewing this program, you should have a better understanding of the federal motor carrier safety regulations, know where to access the tools necessary to comply with the federal motor carrier safety regulations, understand how to establish a comprehensive safety program, and be better prepared for the safety audit process. New entrant audits generally do not result in safety ratings and are not intended to result in enforcement action. However, in very rare cases, specific violations may warrant that a full compliance review be conducted instead of a safety audit. The safety audit will consist of two parts. Part A will consist of a general information overview, and Part B consists of a series of yes or no questions that will assess your operations. You will be contacted by a state, federal, or contract auditor. This person will later provide official credentials to verify their legal authority.
Is this Lee Fellows?
Yes, this is Lee.
Mr. Fellows, this is James Goodson with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. I was calling to set up your new entrant safety audit. Would Tuesday, March the 1st at 10 a.m. be a good time for you?
Yes, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. is fine. Where's your office?
Mr. Fellows, the inspection must take place at your place of business, so I'll be coming to you. Your application says you're located at 114 Parkway Drive. Is that still correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Good. The audit will take us 2 to 4 hours. I'll meet you at your business at 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
Before the meeting, your auditor will gather information about your company from national and state records. This information will be verified during the safety audit.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'm James Goodson, motor carrier auditor with the State Highway Patrol.
Okay.
These are my credentials.
Okay.
I'm here to do your new entrant safety audit. Is there a table we can set up to work? I also need an outlet to plug in my laptop.
Okay, we could just take the table and move it over here.
Great. Mr. Fellows, the reason for this safety audit is to verify that you have systems in place that will ensure basic safety management and compliance with federal motor carrier safety requirements. Failure to do so may result in having your new entrant registration revoked. This audit will take us 2 to 4 hours. I have a series of questions I'll be asking. I'll need you to show me files and records of your employees and motor vehicles. I will review these files and records to verify that they meet federal motor carrier safety requirements. Do you have any questions before we begin?
No, I don't.
Good. Let's begin. Mr. Fellows, would you mind giving me a tour of your facilities and fleet?
No, not at all. Glad to. Let's go. Docks are this way?
During the safety audit, the auditor may ask for a tour of the facilities and speak with various company employees.
Going around the corner here.
Nice.
Thank you very
Very
much.
clean facility.
Thank you. Loading dock out here. This is DJ, one of our drivers. This is James Goodson. He's going to be doing our safety audit for us today.
Hi, nice to meet you, James.
Pleasure meeting you, DJ. Way to secure that load.
Thank you.
Where are you headed?
I'm going to Atlanta.
Well, DJ, you have a safe trip.
Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Take care.
Thanks, DJ. Appreciate it.
You too. Take care, sir.
The auditor may ask to view your commercial motor fleet.
All we have are these tractor trailers and one box truck, but the box truck's not here right now.
What's the gross vehicle weight rating of your vehicles?
All of our vehicles are over 10,001 pounds.
Since your vehicles exceed 10,001 pounds, your vehicles are considered commercial vehicles and are subject to the regulations.
During the second part of the audit, you will be asked questions pertaining to the following regulations. If you are a private carrier not transporting hazardous material, these insurance questions will not apply. Motor carriers of property operating commercial motor vehicles in interstate, foreign, and interstate commerce, and for-hire carriers of passengers operating in interstate or foreign commerce must have at least the minimum amount of insurance required by law. The carrier is required to have a financial responsibility form, like the MCS 90 or MCS 90B, on file issued by the insurance company. The carrier must retain an accident register. All accidents meeting the following requirements should be documented: a fatality, bodily injury to a person who immediately receives medical treatment away from the scene of the accident, disabling damage to one or more motor vehicles, requiring the vehicle to be removed from the scene by a tow truck or other vehicle. Motor carriers are required to maintain an accident register. Copies of accident reports should also be on file when required. Every commercial motor vehicle operated by a motor carrier in interstate commerce must be marked on both sides with the following: motor carrier's name or trade name, motor carrier's identification number preceded by U.S. DOT. These markings must be visible from 50 feet and displayed in a contrasting color. Carriers are required to either obtain a printed copy of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulation Manual or have Internet access to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration website. Drivers must meet these qualifications to be qualified to drive a commercial motor vehicle. Be in good health and physically able to perform all duties of a driver. Be at least 21 years of age. Speak and read English well enough to converse with the general public, understand highway traffic and signals, respond to official questions, and be able to make legible entries on reports and records. Be able to drive the vehicle safely. Know how to safely load and properly block, brace, and secure the cargo. Have only one valid commercial motor vehicle operator's license. Provide an employing motor carrier with a list of all motor vehicle violations or a signed statement that driver has not been convicted of any motor vehicle violations during the past 12 months. A disqualified driver must not be allowed to drive a commercial motor vehicle for any reason. Pass a driver's road test or equivalent. Complete an application for employment. Possess a valid medical certificate. All drivers that operate for a company, including an owner that also performs the duties of a driver, must have a qualification file. This file must contain the following: driver's application for employment. A person will not be allowed to drive a commercial motor vehicle unless he or she has completed and signed an application for employment. Inquiry to previous employers, 3 years. An investigation of the driver's employment record during the preceding 3 years. This investigation must be made within 30 days of the date his or her employment begins. Inquiry to state agencies, 3 years. The driver's driving record from the preceding 3 years. This investigation must be made within 30 days of the date his or her employment begins. Inquiry to state agencies, annual. Request driving record annually for each driver. Annual driver's certification of violations. At least once every 12 months, a motor carrier must require each driver that it employs to prepare and furnish it with a list of all violations of motor vehicle traffic laws and ordinances during the previous 12 months. Note: drivers who have provided information required by Section 383.31 need not repeat that information in this annual list of violations. Annual review of driving record. At least once every 12 months, a motor carrier must review each driver's record. A note stating the results of this review shall be included in the driver's qualification file. Driver's road test certificate or equivalent. A person must not be allowed to drive a commercial motor vehicle until he or she has successfully completed a road test and has been issued a certificate or copy of the license or certificate which the motor carrier accepted as equivalent to the driver's road test, pursuant to Section 391.33. Medical examinations. The driver must pass a medical examination conducted by a licensed healthcare professional. This examination covers 13 areas which directly relate to the driving function. In the case of failed vision or hearing, insulin-using diabetes, and epilepsy, the medical examiner may not grant a medical certificate. This medical certificate must be carried at all times and must be renewed every 2 years. Keep in mind that there are different rules for passenger-carrying vehicles than for property-carrying vehicles. Carriers are required to keep records of duty status for 6 months. A driver must carry a logbook or have detailed time records such as time cards, maintained at the company office. This also applies for owner-operators. In some cases, your operation may be eligible for an exemption from keeping records of duty status. For example, the 100 air-mile radius exemption, short-haul exemption, and farm exemptions. These rules are subject to the exceptions and exemptions in Regulation 395.1. No motor carrier shall permit or require, nor shall any driver operate, a property-carrying commercial motor vehicle more than 11 cumulative hours following 10 consecutive hours off-duty, or for any period after the end of the 14th hour after coming on duty following 10 consecutive hours off-duty, except when a property-carrying driver complies with the provisions of 395.10 or 395.1E2. No motor carrier shall permit or require, nor shall any driver operate, a property-carrying commercial motor vehicle, regardless of the number of motor carriers using the driver's services, for any period after having been on duty 60 hours in any period of 7 consecutive days, if the employing motor carrier does not operate commercial motor vehicles every day of the week, or having been on duty 70 hours in any period of 8 consecutive days if the employing motor carrier operates commercial motor vehicles every day of the week. Any period of 7 consecutive days may end with the beginning of any off-duty period of 34 or more consecutive hours. Or, any period of 8 consecutive days may end with the beginning of any off-duty period of 34 or more consecutive hours. Drivers of property-carrying CMVs, which do not require a commercial driver's license for operation and who operate within a 150 air-mile radius of their normal work reporting location, may drive a maximum of 11 hours after coming on duty following 10 or more consecutive hours off-duty, are not required to keep records of duty status, rods, or logs, may not drive after the 14th hour after coming on duty 5 days a week or after the 16th hour after coming on duty 2 days a week. Employer must maintain and retain accurate time records for a period of 6 months showing the time the duty period began, ended, and total hours on duty each day in place of rods or logs. Drivers who use the above-described short-haul provision are not eligible to use 100 air-mile provision 395.1E or the current 16-hour exception in 395.10. Passenger-carrying carriers and drivers are subject to different hours of service rules. These operations must comply with the hours of service limitations specified in 49 CFR 395.5. No motor carrier shall permit or require any driver they use to drive a passenger-carrying CMV nor shall any such driver drive a passenger carrying CMV more than 10 hours following 8 consecutive hours off duty, or for any period after having been on duty 15 hours following 8 consecutive hours off duty. No motor carrier shall permit or require a driver of a passenger carrying CMV to drive, nor shall any driver drive a passenger carrying CMV, regardless of the number of motor carriers using the driver's services, for any period after having been on duty 60 hours in any 7 consecutive days if the employing motor carrier does not operate commercial motor vehicles every day of the week, or having been on duty 70 hours in any period of 8 consecutive days if the employing motor carrier operates commercial motor vehicles every day of the week. You will need to refer to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations for a more detailed explanation of these rules and possible exemptions. These regulations deal with general operation of commercial motor vehicles. The motor carrier should ensure that drivers operate CMVs in accordance with the laws, ordinances, and regulations of the jurisdiction in which they are operating. The motor carrier should ensure that drivers always properly distribute and secure any cargo. The motor carrier should ensure that no driver operates a CMV while under the influence of or in possession of intoxicating beverages, narcotic drugs, amphetamines, or any other substances capable of impairing the driver's ability to safely operate the motor vehicle. Motor carriers must maintain the following information for every vehicle they have controlled for 30 days or more: identifying information, including company number, make, serial number, year, and tire size, a schedule of inspections to be performed, including type and due date, inspection, repair, and maintenance records, records of tests conducted on buses with push-out windows, emergency doors, and marking lights. These records must be retained for 1 year at the location where the vehicle is garaged and maintained for 6 months after the vehicle leaves the carrier's control via sale, trade-in, or scrap. Every commercial vehicle, including each segment of a combination vehicle, requires periodic inspection